Great, phenomenal. So we've got 11:01 here in Mountain Time. I have question. There's a gut-wrenching question that I have that I'm looking forward to getting to, and looking forward meaning many of the men that come to me have this question of how can I trust myself again, or how can I trust her with what's happening and what's going on in our lives right now. Our theme of this week is trust. So welcome to the C-Note Show. This is your daily playbook for sex, confidence, and masculine leadership with myself, professional coach Jeff Allen, and my beautiful, talented, lovely co-host and professional coach, Miss Cynthia Cruz. And she happens to be my fiance. We met about 4 years ago when both of us had started our own private practices. And the rest is history, right, guys? No, it's not. The rest isn't history. It's all a journey. She's smiling like, yeah, Jeff, whatever, keep going. So here, men in relationship hell get both a man and a woman's perspective so that he can stop beating himself up more than he really needs to, right? That's a huge thing, is we don't need to beat ourselves up more than is necessary. Sure, it's, you know, part of our responsibility of what's going on, but it's not 100% our fault. So while certain things may be our responsibility, definitely not 100% is our fault. So stop beating yourself up so much. We host this show every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to noon Mountain Time for the foreseeable future. Cynthia, today I want to talk about trusting yourself. And you always trust yourself, right? You're just perfect. You know, we're both perfect, right? This is all, we have no problems. We're not human. We're robots. And so everyone else has trust issues, right? But we don't, right?
Oh. I feel like, you know, it's anything like trust or self-love, which was a topic on the forum last night in discussion. Personally, I experience it. It's like going on this incredible hike. Like you go up steep portions and then you level out and you're like, oh, I've arrived. I trust myself. I'm, you know, perfect. And then you reach another incline and you continually going up the mountain. And then once you reach that summit, you kind of go down and then there's another mountain. And part of that could be like, oh my gosh, seriously, this is a continual process. And then it's like, oh, this is a continual process because I am always finding a deeper and better level of trust and love. And it's always better than I ever could have imagined. You know, I even went on a walk this morning before getting on with everyone. And it's like listening to a book that reminds me about trust and love and surrender. And that was my reminder for today. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm going to segue us into, I'm going to do, we are going to do a movie clip, a funny movie clip at the beginning of every single one of these shows. And this week, the theme is Wayne's World. So I've got a clip from Wayne's World. And I want you to think about how what's going on in the clip may be things that are going on within your own mind. And that's going to make sense here as I share the clip. It's about 1.5 minutes today. Here we go.
He's using the cards. Yes!
I told you he'd fall in line. What is your most popular video game right now?
Desert Storm Commando Warrior.
Oh. That would have to do with that limited skirmish in the Middle East.
Yes.
What the hell is he doing?
Are there long lines for your more popular games?
Well, at Noah's Arcade, we like to say there's 2 of everything, so there's never a line.
Okay. Now tell me, Noah, I've always wanted to know, what is the difference between Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man, really?
Well, she has a bow in her head.
That's it? Get right out of town.
No, that's it.
Well, thank you for being on Wayne's World. It was informative and stimulating. Now a word from our sponsor.
Oh my gosh. I love it. this man has no penis, right? I mean, I'll just shoot right below the belt, pun intended, which is, well, maybe I couldn't perform the way that she wanted me to, or maybe I don't know how to perform in the bedroom. Maybe I'm the sphincter boy. Maybe I'm the butt of everyone's joke. Maybe she's been laughing at me behind my back for 5, 10, 20, 25 years. Right? Those are things that I hear from men is, how could she say that she's never loved me? How could she say that it's always been like this, or she's never been like this, or I've never done this? How can we just ball all those together and just shove it down my damn throat? Seems like she's able to do that every single day. Right, guys? And so let me move into our question. And certainly raise your hand, ask a question. This is I'm just going right for the painful shit today. Right for the painful stuff is, how can we even trust ourselves any longer, much less grow trust with her? Because if we don't trust ourselves, that's not going anywhere. So let's get down to our question. I think I have a couple of today. I believe I have a couple of today from the forum. So like I mentioned yesterday on our show, when will she trust me again? What does it mean I'm not ready to trust you when she says that? I'm not ready to trust you. And how can I trust myself again? So my wife of 18 years one day says she wants to separate, blames me for everything. A month later, she filed for divorce. After months of learning and intense soul searching, I have found that I'm only 50% of a relationship, but was only giving a portion of that to it. So he is taking a responsibility that he wasn't giving what he now believes he thinks he should have into the relationship. And so here's my question. I'm insinuating, or I'm extrapolating from this. How can I begin to even trust myself again? And below that, I've got part 2 of the question. So how can I begin to even trust myself again? Cynthia, let me bounce it to you. When have you been, I know, and we talked about this a bit on yesterday's show. When have you been surprised at someone's lack of trust? And when they share it with you, it's sort of this retroactive, I haven't trusted you for a long time, or, hey, I thought this would get better, but I just haven't said anything for a long time. And now it's come to this gigantic volcanic head, and it basically exploding, and you feel like you lose yourself. Like, how can I even trust myself or trust this other person again? I'm asking you a deep, tough question. So what comes to your mind when I ask you that?
Sure. I think one of the hardest breakups I ever went through was I was living in New Hampshire at the time where I grew up, and I was there working as a teacher, and was in a relationship with a gentleman who had 2 young children. And as relationships start, you feel really connected, and the sex is great and the physicality is great. And he took me right in. He wanted kind of an instant mother figure for his kiddos, good, bad, or indifferent. And I really felt at home, and like I'd found a home there and a family there. And what was also going on at the time is he had just gotten out of a divorce, and so he was dealing with the pain and angst of that and the frustration. And as he was dealing with that and how it was affecting his daughter and his son, I felt like him distancing from me. And so I began to trust him less, because all of a sudden this person who I could talk to about like how the world felt to me, and he could empathize, and I felt like I had found this soulmate, was otherwise occupied. And in my mindset, I was going, okay, my heart is hurting here and it's feeling really empty, and I really want him to fill it, and I know it's not really his job to fill it, but the pain is so much, I have to do something about it. I can't just stand here. And so instead of really sitting down with this gentleman and talking with him about how I was feeling, because I felt like I can't do this because he's going through such turmoil and his divorce and everything, I just suddenly called him one day on the phone and said, my heart's hurting. I feel like I really need to heal this right now. I feel like you need time to heal yourself and your children. And I think we should take 6 months off and then let's get back together. And in my mindset and in my emotional world as a woman, that made perfect sense to me. I thought I was protecting this other person from my unwanted neediness. I thought I was being responsible. I was also kind of taking care of like protecting myself. And the result I got was so surprising to me of, he said, absolutely not. Like, I feel like I trusted you up until this point and you just totally broke my trust, and we are through. And I even tried that, in the movies where like someone makes the romantic gesture and then they get back together. Like, I tried that one night. I had a dish or bowl of his and I stopped by his house and I was like, I'm bringing you back your spoon. And then trying to like reconnect with him and reassure him that I was like a trustworthy person and I was here in this relationship. And to him, the trust was broken and I had like abandoned his children. And that was a really horrible experience to feel, because I felt like I couldn't fix it afterwards. I felt like once the trust was broken, I didn't know what to do.
And there's a couple of huge things I heard there. One was your try to reconnect with him. And I'm not sure if he saw that as a try or not, or if he was even open to see that try. It's something I talk with men quite a bit about in our one-on-one coaching and my one-on-one coaching with them, is that you have to be open to her tries, even if things aren't going well. And the other was your intense surprise, right? So let me ask you, from a woman's point of view, what did you expect his response to be? What were you hoping his response would be when you said, let's take a break?
Yeah, that's what was so huge, because I was so like surprised. And this is actually the relationship that catapulted me into learning about how men and women are different, because I was like, oh my gosh, there is something bigger going on here than I understand. If that man was another woman, my attempt to not to, put a need on her and say, hey, let me heal myself, you heal yourself, and we'll rejoin up, and kind of following the emotional flow of this relationship and reacting to a pain. And like, in my woman's brain, it made perfect sense that I would say that, and he would think that I was honorable and protecting him and his family, and that I was a valuable person that he'd want in his life. So essentially, I was kind of thinking that I was trying to be the masculine, like, I'm going to protect this situation and I'm going to remove myself, and then without any verbal communication, we'll just be able to reconvene at some other time.
Mm. Wow, there's a couple things there too. It sounds like he was, what you said about you needing to move into the masculine, or feeling like automatically needing to move into the masculine, is a huge piece with the men that, I speak with, and we speak with on the forum, and we have for years. And that is, it sounds like he wasn't leading the energetic, emotional piece of the relationship forward. And you felt like it wasn't working. Obviously that wasn't working for you, so much to the point that you wanted space. You basically wanted to take a break, right? So obviously that's, something was off there for you to even want that in the first place. And then afterwards, we follow the movies, we see in the movies like, oh, everything works out, like the Disney bullshit ending, right? So let me try this thing that is actually even more masculine. And that right, and that launched you into,
and for some reason that wasn't attractive to him. So
yeah, well, I mean, and that wasn't necessarily your responsibility, and that was confusing for you. Yeah, and that's what launched you into your work.
Yeah, and even as I'm talking, like obviously this is a relationship of the past, and obviously I'm thrilled of how things have evolved in my current relationship world, and I still feel the pain of that, the pain of such misunderstanding and the surprise and the distrust of that, and wanting to fix something. So
Yeah. Let me add the second part of the question here. My whole world is turned upside down. It feels like I have an addiction to her and I don't know what to do. I wanted to open this up. I have a client I spoke with again last night who is it's basically 2 weeks since he found out that she's been having an affair, and she's already gotten an apartment, and he, quote, wants to go no contact with her, but can't because, and then they don't have children together, can't because, and then adds these excuses. Oh, the dog and the this and the all, and it's these excuses. And underneath that, I said, well, what is an emergency that's actually holding you back? If I was smoking crack cocaine and I said, I can't check myself into the hospital because my dog needs me, I need to watch my dog, I need to take care of my dog, what would we do? We would do what, as that person's family or friend, we would do whatever the hell we have to do to take care of that dog so that, I can get checked into the clinic to take care of my crack cocaine addiction. And on the phone, they were still, she's telling him that she loves him and sending him hearts and, hey, let's exchange daily affirmations. And he's like eating this up like an addict, realizing it, but almost can't stop himself. And so I feel like I'm addicted to her. I can't trust myself to not text her 19 times a day. I can't trust myself to say I love you back, even though she literally just moved out and is fucking this other man. She's keeping me on the hook for some reason, which we could talk about, right? And certainly this is not everyone's situation, but I like to go to extremes so we can polarize the conversation, right? So it's something to discuss. So who that's listening right now has had trouble trusting themselves, or trusting themselves to follow through on even this? Maybe it's even your morning routine. I mean, that's something that's so small, but how can you trust yourself to follow through, or to stay away from that addiction, to stay away from the drink or the social media or the, staying at work for 4 extra hours so you don't have to go home, right? Obviously now it's a little bit different. We are probably working from home, but hopefully, knock on wood, as of next month, we're going back to work and things. So who has had a problem with that, right? Type in the chat or raise your hand in the participant section here in Zoom, and we'll call on you. So I want to share, I had to trust myself at the beginning of our relationship, Cynthia, the story that we talked about yesterday, to define a boundary around, and again, this is on yesterday's show, around canceling at the last minute. It's canceling a date at the last minute. And I had to trust myself to actually follow through on that conversation, right? I had to visualize what I wanted. So here's the pragmatic steps. I had to visualize what I wanted. I had to speak out my fears vulnerably, either to myself or to a guy friend or to my journal. I had to say my plan. My plan was to bring this up with you in a heartfelt way with vision, and then to say my boundary, and then to say my vision again as the 4th step. I didn't know, I couldn't define these steps 4 years ago, but this is how I define them now for the men that I coach and for all you on here right now. So it's, what's my positive vision? Okay. What's my fear or my vulnerability? And you have to speak it out loud. What's my plan? Because as a man, especially, it's very important to have a plan. The plan might be go for a walk. The plan might be to do research. The plan might be to write in my journal, whatever it may be. And then you share your positive vision again, right? So I had to trust myself to do that. So Cynthia, I want to ask you, honestly, did my positive vision for what I wanted and what I wanted for us in relationship come through when I shared that with you back when we first started 3.5 years ago to date?
It absolutely did, because it touched into like the issue was, I was concerned about work and a project and my familiar pattern of like pushing everything else aside because only work matters, or only my ego and feeling prepared matters. And so you were offering a vision of something that I wanted deeper than that. And that was, more of a balanced life where, you do have an end stop to work time, and you do trust yourself to do a good job the next day, even if it's not perfect. And you pause and you connect with, the partner you're with. And, that was like, if I think back to that old relationship, I mean, that was the heartache there, right? Of someone who was so involved in their pain of family that they couldn't connect. And so you were saying to me, all right, here, this is the container to connect, and it's not okay to cancel on that. So, and also like what you did, and there's I feel like there's this expression I've heard around men that, women kind of, it's so hard to not be like addicted to them because they hold all the power. It's like they hold all the sex and everything like that. It is very easy for a woman to push away and get super masculine, and when there's no boundaries. And when a man does set a boundary from a place of clarity and vision and heart openness, the feminine kind of does a crap, like I don't want to lose this relationship. So that was also what you did for me. It was like, oh fuck, like this is way too important. I do not want to lose this opportunity to get to know and be with this person.
Oh, thank you. You had a minute ago said how that compares to the old relationship story that you mentioned. And I didn't set this up, guys. This is just all we shoot from the hip and we share vulnerably. So what I did was I led when you went into your masculine, I'm going to work more, need to be successful at work, and just bang my head into the, into this work. And I set a masculine frame and led of where I wanted you to come along in our adventure of dating and our adventure of relationship in life, is what I'm also reading between the lines there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't imagine now, 4 years later, with the adventure and the roundedness of life and the connectionness, like, oh, this is such a better path than how I was living life before. So just to put that out there as well, that your vision of masculinity and your ability to compartmentalize and create forward momentum is such a gift to the feminine, who can get bound up and swirled up in things that are not as important.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Patrick, your hand is raised. Please, there, you're unmuted. Go ahead and ask a question, please.
Oh, well, it's not a question. It's when you talked, there's two parts to what I'm going to say. When you talked about the bloke wanting to connect with the other person, continually, etc., it reminded me of a book called The Winner's Bible by Kerry Spackman. He's a neuroscientist. He understands how the brain works. He had a client or something similar that the male was addicted to the female, or and ringing up and getting that dopamine hit. And his strategy was change the name to cocaine. So every time she rung in or whatever, it was cocaine, and it triggered him, the dopamine hit. That's what you're looking for here, to break the addiction style of thing. It's a very good book. I'll type it into thing.
So he literally in his head said cocaine instead of her name.
Yeah, on his phone. Oh. On his phone, when she rang or whatever, it was cocaine.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And he said, what you're doing here is getting that dopamine hit. And I totally understand him. My relationship of 46 years married, you know, I'm addicted to my missus. Why did I fall in love with her? The very close connection we had for years, and that's disappeared, style of thing. And that you talking about it, oh God, Winner's Bible, Kerry Spackman, it's the same thing. And what I've noticed with, as I've sort of, from you guys coaching and the Steve Hoseman, or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Steve Horseman.
You move
Steve
back.
Horseman. Steve's gonna turn. He's gonna turn over in his chair right now if you call him Horsman. Yeah, Steve Horseman.
Well, what I noticed is, when I've changed my thing from why are you doing this and all that, because, you know, being taught by you guys and Steve that it's her emotion, forget about it, and you go back. I pulled back slightly, was slightly abrupt with her, and then now I've noticed she's very small things trying to reconnect, style of thing.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm going to pause you for a second because that was really huge right there. So you took, as Steve Horsman would say, you took a half step back. You took a half step back to create a vacuum space to allow her to feel safe to step towards you if she so chose. Right, Patrick? That's what you did, is you took a step back. Yeah,
and the interesting thing is she wants to come round to pick up some articles and a plant from the garden, and I'm going, it's basically bullshit. You're just trying to come up with a reason to come back and thing. Now, the big test for me is we come out of lockdown in a week or a couple of weeks. How soon she decides to ring up and say, can I come round? If she does it in the first couple of days, I'm going to be going, style of thing. I mean,
well, yeah, let me pause you right there, because Patrick, I want to have Cynthia jump in and have her give feedback on the, you know, it's bullshit, she's making an excuse to come around. Well, I don't disagree with you. How could we look at that in a different way, right? So Cynthia, please jump in. How could Patrick and all of us look at that in a different way?
The phrase, like, that is bullshit, she's coming around.
Yeah, exactly. How could a man consider what that means, looking at her behavior, right? Not just her words, but her behavior, her actions, and where might that lead, let's say, or what could Patrick maybe expect after quarantine ends and she has the capability to come see him physically?
You guys, in your masculine presence and just who you are, you are your safety. You are the arms wrapped around. You are the tree to lean against. And so, you know, any woman who's kind of struggling with the idea that she needs things different, kind of like I was in that old relationship, like something different needs to happen here because my heart is hurting, is also going to struggle with, you know, I step out into the world myself as a woman, and, you know, despite some popular belief of, you know, self-help books, I am not an island, and I can be certainly very strong in myself, but it's not the same. A man's energy, it's not the same. I can't cultivate the same thing in my body. So, you know, if women are not black and white, if there's always kind of shades of gray of how they're dealing with things, there's that kind of like wanting physical connection or connection over text is still like honoring and appreciating your masculine energy. It's just a question then of, you know, what boundary you want to set to that, because the boundary could be the best thing that you ever did, either for yourself or that it inspires her to take a step towards you. Because again, it's that, you know what, I've got this amazing presence for you, but you've got to move toward me. So here's my boundary. Here's the space between us. And you are welcome to step into that. And if you don't, I'm you get to take with you this incredible knowledge of what you offer and offer it in other areas.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Here's my boundary and here's the space in between, and you're welcome to step into that. That's beautiful.
First off, Jeff, can I borrow the suck cut when you get a chance?
Yeah, I think that was on Sunday, right? The suck.
I believe
I need it
so.
too, man.
Yeah. It's getting bad. It's getting bad. But no, I appreciate it. My question, I guess my situation does kind of tie into that last question as well. Just kind of a somewhat of a brief backstory. Currently for 4 months now, I've been living separated in the same house. So it's been stressful to say the least. This is actually the second time she's asked for space, which the first time around I was very supportive, was able to take a step back, lead my household as best I could. And in that time frame, I did discover there was an affair that happened, which obviously was debilitating. But in that, I never lost faith that it was going to be her and I. I don't know why. I just never crossed my mind that it wasn't going to work out. I forgave, tried to forget. It was not easy. But then now, literally 4 months ago, after what her and I honestly have agreed that it's been a great year, she out of the blue asked for space again. So this time around, obviously my support hasn't really been there. I've been angry. I've been upset. I guess my question is this a situation where is it trusting myself or is it trusting her? Like I'm kind of torn between the two. And as far as boundaries, I think that's a very, very good, very key term for my personal situation. Is this time around, I did say, this is not only time for you, this is time for me as well. And I think she's had a hard time accepting my boundaries because she has almost, even the first time around when I did not get clingy, I decided to step back. Now that I've asked for space, now she is clinging to me a little bit, constantly asking, what's wrong? Why are you upset? Things of that nature. And it's very confusing. And I'm trying to tread lightly to create that space for myself and, focus on myself and my health and my well-being to hopefully lay a good foundation. But I don't think that space is being accepted by her very well.
Let me jump in and ask a question, Kent. First of all, I don't believe I've shared this yet on the show. This is our first week, our charter week of the show. I don't think I've shared this yet. So my ex fell in love with another man, so she says, and cheated on me at the beginning of 2015. And she also had an emotional affair in 2007 over Facebook with a guy she knew from high school. And I, long story short, reattracted her both times so when someone doesn't want to be with me, then I can move forward pretty quickly. But when I'm in the throes of relationship, I'm all in. So I'm either like all in or all out. And in the past, prior to 5 years ago, my all in was very nice guy, was very please her, was very, okay, I'm going to, do this to win brownie points and then she'll be happy. Or I kind of treat her like a man when she says she's going to do something and then doesn't do it. I try to hold her accountable like I would a man, like I would my colleague at work or my friend. So I know what that pain is like as far as having been cheated on, right? And the trust, how can I trust myself? So Kent, when you tell the story, it kind of feels like we're circling around what exactly is a boundary for you? Like name one for me. And there's something else it feels like that maybe you need to share here to illuminate something more for us, if you would.
As far as, what boundary have I set, or I guess, what are you asking?
Yeah. So you asked, how can I trust myself or should I trust her? And so why do you not trust yourself? And what is a boundary that you have?
And honestly, I've never really considered boundaries. I've always been, like you said, a people pleaser, I guess, to a certain extent. I have, tried to take care of the people around me before putting myself first. I've never put myself as a priority. I know it's not a healthy way to live, and I'm trying to change that. And thinking back to after the affair, the only like boundary that I tried to set was, I cannot be hurt again. And I honestly don't even remember her asking for forgiveness. And that's kind of weighed on my mind here lately, is I forgave her without even her sounding off like, will you take me back? It was just nature for me to want my family to be whole, and to move forward with everybody that we've been together for 15 years now.
Gotcha. So let me jump in there. I'm going to answer your question. No, you can't trust yourself, because you're in the throes of pain and the loss of the identity of you as a couple, and all of the chapters of the book of your future that you perceive, that you thought were going to be there, growing old with her, raising a family together, right? Our son was 11 years old in 2015 when that happened. He's 16 now, and things are great now. We co-parent in an amazing way, and that's a story for another time. My relationship with my son is amazing. Wasn't good when he was 11, because of everything. But so Kent, a boundary for you is something that you must be able to enforce. And you can't enforce, I'm not going to get hurt again. Okay. There's no way to enforce that except for to shut all your emotions off and become a robot. Okay. We're humans. We have emotional range, and your emotional range goes both ways. Okay. So to have positivity, you must be open and vulnerable to being hurt within relationship. Okay, that's a very obviously simplistic way to say it. But if I'm going to say I'm never going to get hurt, what I'm also saying is I'm never going to love again, or I'm never going to let anyone else love me again, because that's the only way that I can't be hurt. Okay, so that's a boundary you can't enforce. But what you can what can you enforce? What can you put a finger on? For instance, what during this space do you want? What do you want during this time of, let's say, separation or space, even if you're in the same house?
I've always, been a person of pride. I've always wanted to make myself proud, and also people around me. So I think the maybe I'm after an image. Maybe I'm after, not other people's approval by any means, but I've always envisioned us and hers in my relationship as being different, because I come from a bloodline of some not so healthy relationships and marriages, and I've always wanted to be different and not be that way. And I think that's what's really kind of been a soul motivating factor, is seeing how not to be
Good.
in an
Yeah.
emotional relationship, or how not to talk to your wife, or how not to so I've been kind of raised, and I'm kind of been in a mindset of what not to do. And I've kind of I'm recognizing now that I was also not doing the things I should be doing as a husband as well. I've just been kind of numb, like you said, and I'm hoping to change that.
Good. I mean, first of all, I honor that you're here. Okay. I'm going to answer the question of, well, what do I do if I can't trust myself? Okay. I'm going to come back to that. The not knowing what you don't want is an amazing start to move toward what you do want. Okay. So that's phenomenal. And what you do want is what? If I ask you that, I do want blank.
I do want to love and be loved unconditionally.
What does unconditionally mean?
To to truly discover who I am and who I can be, and to be accepted for that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me just pause you. I want to be accepted for who I am, right? I want to discover more of who I am and grow together in relationship, and have the two of us discover even more of each other as we move forward, and to do that as a team in life.
Correct.
That's what you want, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
phenomenal. Okay, good. So let me answer your other question of, let me put you on mute for 1 second. Well, how can I trust myself? I can't. I felt like I was in free fall during that time, Kent. And this is vulnerable and difficult for me to say in front of Cynthia, because she and I have been in a relationship for going on 4 years. We're engaged. We've lived together for, almost 3 years, this kind of thing. I blubbered, I cried, I begged her to not go, like all the shit that you're not supposed to do, right? Like all the nice guy crap. And it's hard for me to share that, but that's where I was. I didn't know any better. And so what I needed to do, which is what you're doing right now, is to co-regulate with other men. Co-regulate with other men that are going through this, and ask other men that have been through this for, book recommendations. One of the first, if you haven't heard of it, is No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. Okay. And the second one is Hold On to Your Nuts by Wayne Levine. You're nodding your head. Have you seen both of those by chance?
I literally emailed Cynthia this week and she recommended both of those already.
Good.
So no, good stuff.
Yeah. And so I dug into those. I found a local men's group, which right now we're doing it virtually still after, it's going to have been 5 years this September that I've been in that men's group. So co-regulate with other guys, and you have to find a leader or a way of thinking, a mindset that you believe in, that you can kind of steep yourself in, so that you can, again, co-regulate, and that can be modeled for you. Because my parents fought, and then they made up and stayed together, and fought and made up and stayed together. And my dad had a lot of anger. I'm like looking at your picture. My dad had a lot of anger. And so I thought you just kind of got angry and fought, and then you're fine. You move forward. Same with my grandparents, and they never split up, right? Well, that's another story, but guess what? That doesn't work very well, especially in modern relationship now. Like, women aren't going to put up with that shit, and they shouldn't. So I think, mine was anger, Kent. So what would you say, do you fall in, what is your go-to shitty response? Go ahead and just let's face the dragon. What's your go-to shitty response?
I think anger is a good way to put it, but I bottle it up, and I feel like sometimes I walk away maybe a little too soon. I don't know, I'm just a pissy attitude, and I think the underlying theme from about 2+ years ago was I was embarrassed for probably, well, I am, but I went along supporting her through this first space she was asking for, when the whole time defending her to her family and how she was acting out and things like that. I was on her side, and then I was embarrassed to find out about the affair. So I think that embarrassed.
So I just want to point out, the embarrassment is what I was feeling that I wanted you to share. There was just something there that we were kind of beating around. Okay, so you're embarrassed, and how could I, fool me once? Fucking hey, I was there, Kent. Fool me once in 2007, and then we get back together, fool me twice, right?
Right, which is why I've, this time around, I've asked for my own space. I have been angry. I'll admit I have been pissy, but I'm just, how much longer can I put up with this emotional roller coaster and, put up with her BS?
Yeah, good. So let me give you a framework to answer that question. It's more general. So there's you, there's her, and there's the relationship. Okay. So what you're taking a break or a pause from is the relationship. So at the moment, and this is obviously this opens a whole can of worms that we'll talk about ongoing, in other shows most likely here. But what this opens up is, well, what actually is the appropriate relationship frame right now? Okay. Because we're not married, basically. We're not, just roommates. Maybe you are, I'm not certain, Kent, but it's kind of like co-parenting in the same house. We're teammates. So I'm going to treat her as a teammate, but I have my own resentment and shit, and she has her own stuff. So my pissiness, it's not fair to bring that into the relationship, even as teammates, right? And what that's basically telling her is, I want to fucking blow up this teammate. I don't want this at all, is what it's telling her. And really what it is it's your own shit. And I had to face that myself, right? So with that being said, how are you dealing with your own crappy, pissy responses, right? Like, and by the way, what I said earlier about with positive vision, I want my fear and vulnerability, my plan, and then the same positive vision I want again is a great way if you need to talk with her about it. Okay. But what are you doing for yourself? Are you journaling? Are you reading? Are you talking with other men like this?
I started working out a little bit, like the last probably 3-4 weeks fairly regularly. And funny thing is, you know, as a group of men who are familiar with this, I actually have a college roommate who has gone through two divorces now, and he and I have had some great conversations. Not only like what to expect, but the similar stories that we can share. I've been playing a little bit of golf, trying to find some time. It's just me, and creating, I guess, my own space. There really is no plan right now. I guess the most consistent has been the workouts. But I think journaling might be a good step.
Awesome. Yeah, the whole journaling thing. So here, I recommend 1 sentence a day, because no one can make an excuse to not put that on, you know, in the toilet and write 1 sentence a day of appreciation, basically. And so this is an appreciation 1 sentence journal. That's the easiest to start with. You know, we can get sucked into the trap of kind of writing all the negatives, and then you turn back and all you see is all this negative, which is, I suggest if you're gonna do that, write positives and negatives, long form, but a short form of 1 sentence, or, you know, 2 short sentences in 1 line, and then put the next date on the next line when you write that one. That's what I've been doing now. And there's no excuse. It's like positive. Oh, this great thing happened. I met with my son today in the park. You know, he's great. So that is a great way to start journaling, especially when you don't know what you want. Okay, but you do now. You want to grow with each other, and you want to learn more and be supportive of each other ongoing. So guess what, Kent? That's your vision. Do you mind if I ask your wife's name? What's your wife's name, Kent?
Allison.
Allison. So I would say something like, and you don't need to say this today, but let's say the next time a relationship conversation comes up, when she brings it up and she says, well, what do you want from your space? Okay, and you say, what I want is to understand how I'm growing, and I want to understand how we can maybe grow together, because that's what I want. I would love for us to grow together. I'm afraid that I'm going to be hurt again. You know, I'm afraid that my boundaries aren't strong, or I can't see the back of my own head. I don't know what I don't know. And so my plan is to journal about that, to attend men's groups, to read books, so that I can feel confident about growing together if that's what we decide. Okay, growing together and moving to the future together if that's what's best for both of us and the relationship. Right? So you got that 1, 2, 3, 4. How's that feel when I say that?
It feels like a plan, and I've always been a planner, so that's good stuff.
Good, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, my goal is to bring perspective and a plan. When I work with men, and in every session that we have, no matter how shit things are, my goal is to bring perspective and a plan to move forward. That's what coaching is about, right? Therapy is great, and I went through that, and it helps us understand our childhood, let's say, in the past. But coaching is about just recognizing that and then making a plan to move forward to get what we want. Okay, therapy helps you deal with your old shit. Coaching helps you get what you want moving forward. Yeah. Beautiful. Cynthia, give me some feedback on Kent's energy from when he first started to ask the question to his energy now, or when he last just spoke.
Well, thank you for that. I was in Kent. It's great to get to see you in person. When Kent first started sharing, I almost felt like I was feeling his energy kind of up and out, and it wasn't feeling like inside. I wasn't feeling his energy inside of him. And then, like all of us, the more Kent was talking about what he wanted and his vision, it was like the solidness came inside and the groundedness came inside. And as a woman, I really wanted to hear more about what he was wanting and his vision. And that was really exciting to hear.
Kent, are you open to share more about your wanting and your vision?
I guess and put it in general terms, it's I deserve to be happy, and if she's the one that's going to help me continue to be happy, then that's what I want. And I'm truly seeing the benefits of putting myself first and making sure my basic needs are met before worrying about the other stuff that makes others happy as well. So if there's anything as far as a first step that I've taken, that's definitely been it.
That feels so grounded. That's amazing.
Good,
Thank you, though. I really appreciate it. This is good stuff.
Good. Phenomenal. Yeah. If we were to talk more, Kent, if I were coaching you right now, I'd ask you, what does it feel like in your body when you're about to close and get angry and shut down? Okay. Because for me, the anger shoots up the back of my neck and the base of my head gets really tight. That's the precursor. Yeah. Roger's making like the Hulk cloth, right? Yeah, Roger, that's exactly right. So the base of my physiologically, what happens is you will in 100% of the cases have some type of physiological response just before your lizard brain kicks in and you do your shitty response behavior, whatever that may be. And this happened actually about 4 days ago with Cynthia. I was disappointed by something, and I'll save that story for another time when I'm sorry. And it was just like the anger was coming, and it was like 3, 2, 1. And in the past, that's when the fucking Hulk releases, right? That's when I want to take responsibility. That's when I allowed myself to turn into the Hulk, and it was just just death stare. How could you bitch? Death stare. And guess what? That didn't work too well. I don't know why that didn't work out very well. And one thing I share with guys is, a man might say, well, yeah, but I'm so great all the other times. I'm so great 99% of the times. Okay, granted, let's assume that. Let's assume that only 1 out of 100 times that I did the Hulk fuck you face, and we had been together for 13 years. So let's say I did it once a year for 13 years. Okay. So my ex, Amber, had 13 memories of me being enraged and being like, fuck you, bitch face, in 13 years. So when she's, if she were to say, you've always been this terrible, angry man, she's thinking of 13 instances when it was, just talk about embarrassing. I'm like horribly embarrassed by that. Saying this out loud helps me. Y'all are helping me by me saying this out loud again. And I've said this to men in the closed group, with Steve Horseman when I went and did my coaching with him 5 years ago at men's retreats. I've led now 8 men's retreats with Steve or around the world myself. Phoenix, Arizona, we just did one. I'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I said, okay, well, once a year, how long have you been together? Well, 20 years. Okay. So if you have fuck you, bitch, in your face 20 times, okay. So you get the point. And that's what I have to help guys realize is it's not, all the other stuff isn't the brownie points, nice guy. She's not going to consider that stuff. She's fucking terrified of what's going to happen. So Cynthia, share with me, what is it like to be a woman when a man seems to be enraged and out of control? What is that like for you when that happens?
So I'm taking a deep breath in.
See, even me telling that story, she's got to get, she's got to get some grounding and get a hold of herself.
So first, like the first reaction I have, I'm more of a like freezer. Like not the fight, flight, or freeze. I tend to freeze more. And so whether that expression's coming from a partner or, a father or another, gentleman at work or something like that, there is a immediate thought of like, oh fuck, I like really fucked up and this is really bad. And there is a sense of, not like that I'm unsafe, but the relationship space is unsafe. Like I lose all sense of like the 100 positive interactions that came before that. And then and all it is like this relationship space is not unsafe, not because I'm physically concerned, but I just don't know what might come out of that person's mouth that really is going to, are they going to call out all my weaknesses, all the feminine parts in me that I'm still like, is this okay thing to be? Is my swirliness okay? Are they gonna judge me? And then I noticed that after that initial like deer in headlights, you know, I might start getting a little hyper vigilant about looking around and like, oh my gosh, there's like dishes in the sink, or the bed isn't made, and is that gonna create more anger? And then it feels like I start to get a protective skin. It's like I need something to have it not matter so much and not be so, affect me so much. So that's the process I notice, and I witness that with gratitude, because I'm like, oh, this is how women get so layered up with protective shields. Those moments of feeling so vulnerable that probably connects to times when they were little girls, and then they just start being like, well, screw this, I can't be this vulnerable again, and they start building up a skin and a wall.
Yeah, and let me finish my story from earlier. So 4 days ago, when I felt that happening, and I think Cynthia will agree with this, she felt that I was getting angry. She knows I'm getting angry. So what I did and what I've practiced with myself is breaking eye contact and basically saying, hey, you know, I need to take a break right now. I need to take a break right now, and I'll meet with you again in an hour and a half when we had planned to meet. So that's when you become skilled to feel what happens prior to doing the shitty thing, you can take steps to not have that happen. And I'm very proud that I've integrated that Hulk within me. I've integrated that Hulk, and I believe that that's not happened one time since we've been together, Cynthia. I mean, maybe, do you agree with that? I don't know that Hulk has not come out. He's been in my corner, but I've integrated him. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen, I think you've referenced your Hulk in other situations, so it's I get kind of a general sense of it, but you've never directed that toward me.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know what she was going to say. So she's like, yeah, actually, douchebag. No. Okay, good. That's good. So I asked for a break with Cynthia. And then when we came back together, I did a process all between that to process and talk with him, and what I call the boardroom exercise. And I'll share that tomorrow, of how I integrate him. And then when I came back with Cynthia, the steps of exactly how I presented that to her, which real quick are, I'll bet you think a part of me is really upset, and you're right. And a part of me is actually really scared and afraid because I'm not sure of this and this and this. You know, that's the vulnerability, right? And this is what I want, right? So let's talk about this, because I want to have this connected vision, this positive vision in our life and in our business. So that's how I handle it. And I'll walk through that tomorrow. Cynthia, really fast, I'm not sure how to phrase this. How did that come across, right? It was obvious I was angry, and then we sat down and I just named it. A part of me is angry and a part of me is scared, and this is the vision I want. How did that move forward for you? How did that come across to you when I did that?
It was a relief. It was like, oh, we can still connect and communicate through this. And you even said you said I want experiences that come up to grow our relationship and bring us closer together. And so to me, that was heaven. The permission that imperfections can be used as a way to grow and move forward and get closer. That was wonderful. I think all of us, we're looking for people in our lives who are willing to sit in the fire with us. And when we can do that and move forward and grow, whether we end up with those people forever or we move on, that is such a gift. I mean, the opportunity to talk about these type of things that normally get shoved under just the day-to-day and move through them is amazing, and is building that vision that we all have for a connected, passionate, powerful relationship.
Beautiful. What a great way to end. So gentlemen, meet us on the forum, greatmenmovemountains.com/cnote, to ask a question or to request to be in our private Facebook group, right? You need to be personally invited by us. So bye now.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you.